What's going on, everyone? So, rumors for the upcoming Scream 7. Now, Sidney, Mark, and Tatum star in a chase scene in their house in Scream 7. Soon after, an ambulance arrives in a hurry, indicating that someone was injured. Now, this could mean several things, right? Obviously, we already know Mark, Sidney, and Tatum are expected to um, have a chase, like, or not necessarily a chase scene, but they're supposed to get attacked in their home. And then Sydney and Mark's youngest children are supposed to be with the grandma. We already know that that's a character that was cast. So this isn't like some groundbreaking news. We kind of knew that this was going to happen, but it appears that there's going to be some type of chase scene, right? So I've talked about, you got to imagine Sydney is prepared, right? Like, I could see us getting a sort of Laurie Strode Halloween 18 type Sydney where, because she has to be. I mean, think of how many times she's been attacked by Ghostface. How many times she's been, at the brink of death by Ghostface. Like, there's zero shot that she's not prepared, right? And I'm not talking about just a gun. I mean, she's got to have, stuff lined up and ready to go, right? I mean, even the house, we've got the set leaks and stuff like that where, you have, she's got like a long, like, driveway to get to her house, right? Like, all of that is purposeful. She's probably got cameras everywhere, right? Like, you got to imagine Sydney is as prepared as it gets. Right, and she's got a family now, so she's going to want to protect her family, right? Ghostface is going to show up and attack, and hopefully it's a really good scene. I've talked about this. I wouldn't be shocked if Sydney and her family are the opening scene. Obviously they're not going to die. They're not going to kill them in the opening scene, but I could see something where, it's this opening scene attack, and, Ghostface ends up coming and maybe Sydney takes out Ghostface. What if the ambulance isn't there for Sidney, Tatum, and Mark? What if the ambulance is there for Ghostface that Sidney just took out, or Sidney ended up, killing or knocking out or whatever, right? Like, that could be a possibility. It also could just be, like, ambulance shows up because people were attacked, right? Like, but it's also the possibility that, Mark ended up getting cut or something, right? Do we get kind of like a Derek moment where, maybe Mark gets kind of just like slashed on the arm, cut on the arm, to where everyone thinks like, like, oh, that's odd. Ghostface came in and just like had a chance to kill you and just decided to cut you, scratch you a little bit, right? Or like poke you a little bit or something, right? Like, I don't know. It just, there's a lot of ways that they can approach this. Maybe Tatum gets attacked and that kind of causes some issues, but Tatum doesn't want to like go into hiding or anything like that. Tatum's like, look, I'm fine, Mom. Obviously scared. You killed Ghostface. You took out Ghostface. Like, I really do and can see a path where Sydney, Mark, and Tatum get attacked by Ghostface. Sydney ends up killing said Ghostface. So you get an early kill, early kind of, set up an establishment. The characters in the movie believe that, okay, it's over, it's done, right? Sydney's like, hey, no, why don't we just go away for like a week, right? Just to make sure everything's cool, right? Just to lay low for a little bit, and then we can come back and blah, blah. And Tatum's like, no, like, Mom, you killed him. He's fine. We're done. Right? And she's just like, well, maybe it's only one. And she's just like, there's always historically two, so another one could still be out there and blah, blah, blah. Whatever, right? Like, you could maybe do something like that, and then, so the characters believe that it's over, the characters think that it's done, maybe a week or two passes, and Sydney's like, okay, we're fine, everything's good, and then Ghostface is back, right? Boom, and starts taking people out again, right? Maybe that first Ghostface just got a little overzealous, right? Got a little carried away, right? Maybe should have waited for the green light, right? Like, just wanted to take matters into his own hands. I think that is something that makes a ton of sense. Chances are they're not going to kill Sydney in this movie. The only reason I say chances are is because I wouldn't be shocked if we get a cliffhanger, because if the reports are true that like Scream 8 is already ready to go, and that they're going to make that Scream 8, I wouldn't be shocked if Sidney is the cliffhanger, where we're kind of left with her like, is she alive? Is she dead? What happened? Right? Like, did they really just kill Sidney? And we're all kind of in shock, and it's just like, no way, they would never do that, but really maybe they did, right? Like, I could see something like that. Also, Isabel May, who's playing Tatum, she's probably not dying either, right? Like, chances are she's going to be the new face of Scream, right? That's what they wanted to do with Sam and Tara, and particularly Sam and Melissa Barrera's character. Well, she departs, and Jenna Ortega departs, so now it's like, okay, well, you need somebody kind of young, hip, and new that can be the face. That's where I think Isabel May is that character, right? And makes sense, Sidney's daughter, right? I think if this film does well, and this film, has the success that it probably will have, then I do think that Isabel May's character and Tatum will be kind of like front and center, the main focus, main face going forward, right? I mean, if they do this trilogy, Sidney's probably gonna be a significant piece, but I could see them doing something like what they did in 18, right? Like Halloween, right? Where Halloween 18 was more focused on Laurie and kind of introducing the family, and then you saw it start to further and further transition to Allison. That's what I think they do with this new Scream trilogy, right? Like, I think this upcoming film is going to be very Sidney focused, very Sidney centric, right? Which is why I kind of lean towards maybe her fate kind of being up in the air, her fate undecided. But no, and also just like, I could see her kind of being up in the air at the end of this film. Obviously, you get into the Scream 8, she's alive, but she's critical, and she's just messed up, so that kind of takes her out of it for like maybe half the movie or something, and then it's kind of focused on Isabel May, and then Sidney's in the back half, right, because she wakes up from her like coma or whatever, and then and then that leads into the final of the trilogy, right? Like, I could see something along those lines, kind of them following the Halloween suit, but again, time will tell. We'll see how they approach this, in which direction they go, as far as like Isabel May's character with Tatum, and then obviously Sidney Prescott and all that stuff. And I am curious to see who makes it, who survives. But I do think a really good chase scene with Sidney and her daughter and her husband, I think would be awesome, right? Really, I mean, just to see Ghostface do a couple house calls, why not? Right? Ghostface loves to do house calls. But Ghostface shows up, get a little squabble, right? Them chasing around, a couple people get scratched up. Like, it just kind of sets the tone. Sidney takes out Ghostface because she's prepared, she's ready, she ain't backing down. And then, that kind of sets the tone for the movie going forward. I can see something like that. I think if it does, I think even if it's not the opening scene, I think it happens early. Right? Like, let's say it's not like the very opening scene. I could see it being like the scene after the opening scene. Right? So like the opening scene happens, that person dies, and then like, 5 minutes later, boom, Sidney and her family is attacked, and Ghostface is coming after them type thing. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Is this what you want to see? Is this what you not want to see? Kind of mixed in the middle. Or do you want like a really epic, really awesome chase scene with Sidney and her family? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.